Hi, my name is Susan and this is my kitchen. Thank you for joining me today on Susan's Cozy Kitchen as I'm making corn chowder. If you enjoyed today's video, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. If you've not already, please do subscribe and ring that notification bell so that you find out every time I upload a new video to YouTube. A little bit of background on this recipe. When I was newly married, living out in San Diego, California, one of my dear friends invited me over to lunch one day, and I had corn chowder for my very first time. It was not something that my mom had ever made. In fact, I don't think she's ever made it. So this is something that I learned from one of my California friends. Carlene, if you're out there, thank you so much, and this is dedicated to you today. Okay, here we are at the stove. I have my nice big soup pot on the stove. I have it turned to a low heat. I have 6 pieces of bacon and my kitchen shears. They're nice and clean. I just washed them. And I'm going to simply cut little strips of bacon and let it fall down into the pan and start cooking. I want to brown these and get the bacon nice and crisp, and then use the bacon grease as a base for cooking all of my vegetables. So let's get that going. Okay, there's all of the bacon. I'm going to turn the heat up a bit so that this will get started cooking. The bacon is nice and crispy, so let's get it out of here and onto a plate with some paper towels to let the grease drain. Now, I only need about 1 to 2 tablespoons of the bacon grease. I could have cooked less bacon, but I like to use the bacon as a garnish on top of the corn chowder when I serve it, so that's why I cooked 6 pieces. There's our 2 tablespoons of bacon fat in there. Now it's time to add the onion. I have 1 small yellow, sweet yellow onion that I diced. And now I've got that in here. I'm going to cook this for a couple of minutes until it's nice and brown, slightly translucent. I'm cooking this on about medium heat. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Let's add the garlic to it. I minced 2 small cloves. If you've got 1 nicely sized clove of garlic, 1 is plenty, but mine were really tiny, so I minced 2 of them. I'm going to add that in here, and I'll let that cook for about 2 minutes. Okay, the onions and garlic have been cooking long enough. Now it's time to move on with the recipe. Let's add our corn, and this is about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of frozen sweet yellow corn. If you have fresh corn, that's even better. Oops. To that, I'm going to add 2 carrots and 2 stalks of celery that I cleaned and cut up earlier. To that, I'm going to add potatoes, lots and lots of potatoes. I cut about 4 potatoes I peeled and then I sliced very thinly. Let me show you. It's just, everything is really nice and thin. Little pieces of potato. I really want my potato to more or less disintegrate in the chowder. If there are little bites of potato, that's great, but I really want it to cook down as much as possible. Next, I have a can of creamed corn. Now I need 4 cups of chicken broth or 4 cups of water, and either bouillon cubes or better than bouillon. So I have the better than bouillon chicken bouillon. So I'm going to just get out 2 nice big spoons of the better than bouillon, and I just rinse off my spoon in there. Oh, hello, that was hot. Okay, let's stir this together. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this to a boil, and then I will turn it down to a simmer, and I'll let this cook for about 30 to 40 minutes. I'll stir it occasionally as it's cooking. Then at the end of about 30 minutes, I'm going to check it and see if it's thick enough. If it's not as thick as I want it to be, I will stir some cornstarch into a little bit of water and add to it. Or you could make a roux with equal parts of butter and flour. Melt the butter, put the flour in there, cook it for a couple of minutes until it turns a nice light brown, and then add it in. If you want to do the roux, do that now and add it at this point so that it cooks and thickens together. Otherwise, if you're using the cornstarch, wait until closer to the end. So just waiting for this to come up to a boil, then I will reduce the heat and let it simmer until it's ready to add the cornstarch. Okay, it's starting to bubble a little bit, and it's looking, as you can see the bubbles where it's starting to come up. It is just about to boil, so I'm going to reduce the heat now to keep it simmering for the next 30 minutes. Okay, the chowder has sat here and simmered for about 30 minutes, so it is time to move on. You can see that it's already starting to thicken, the potatoes are breaking down, and it's looking really, really wonderful. Now the next thing I want to do is to add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch that's dissolved into a tablespoon of water. And I did that just to help thicken the soup as it's finishing its final minutes of cooking. This will make it nice and thick and chowdery. The next to last thing is to add 2 cups of heavy cream. I have heavy whipping cream. I'm going to start stirring, and I will drizzle this in as I stir. Look how lovely that makes it look. You can see how nice and thick it's getting. Alright, love that beautiful color. And then look, when you pick up your spoon, you can see all the beautiful different colors in there, the green, the yellow, and the orange, along with the white. Oh, this is going to be fantastic. Now the last thing I'm going to do is to taste it and season it after I let this sit here and simmer for another 10 to 15 minutes. We know this is going to need some salt and pepper just from the fact that I haven't put any in there. There's 4 potatoes in here, carrots, celery, onion, garlic, and corn. The only thing that was salty going in was the canned corn that I put in there. So nothing else had salt added to it. So definitely need to add some salt. I'm just going to sprinkle over the top some salt until I think I've salted it enough. And now add some fresh ground black pepper. And give it a stir. Now, this is one of those things that I believe in going light on, because you can always add more at the table if it's not quite to your liking. And if people are trying to watch their salt intake, they don't like a lot of pepper, whatever, then it's nice and light for them. It has enough to be flavored without being overpowering. So let's let that mix in, and now a nice long spoon I'm going to dip in, get out a little bit of, it looks like I've got a small piece of potato and some corn. Yeah, I think that was just perfect. No additional salt or pepper needed. It's got a couple more minutes left to cook, and then it will be done. Okay, time is up. The chowder is cooked and it's ready to serve. Let's put some just in this nice little clear bowl so that you can see all the different colors and just how pretty it is. It's thickened but not too thick, and it is wonderfully flavorful. I love how nice and creamy it is. If you wanted it to be thicker, you could use your immersion blender and blend it just a little bit. Not so much that you don't see the corn or the other vegetables in there, but just enough to thicken it a little bit, get rid of some of the potato chunks. But I like the potato chunks, so to me, that's perfect. It's just as good as I remember it being the very first time I had this chowder. If you love corn, I think you will really love this. Thanks for joining me today on Susan's Cozy Kitchen. God bless.